Hey everybody, welcome back to the Metal Mill 52 workshop. My name is Bill, this is my shop. We're building a Raritan Riding Car. This is the book for the Raritan, the original book published in the 70s by William Morwood. It's a 3.5-inch gauge locomotive, but what's cool about this is it has a design for a very nice flat car or riding car. And in this week's episode, we're going to be exploring making the wheels. As you can see, I've got some wheels set on the axle here, and this was a really fun process, making these little cast iron wheels, machining them, and I'll take you step by step through the entire process in this video, and I think it's going to be very useful to anybody that's machining wheels of any size for a steam locomotive. Now, Blondie Hacks did, in her A3 Switcher series, she did have a segment about making wheels, but she was making them from steel bar that she cut in slices for the Kozo A3. This shows the casting, so this could be hopefully additionally useful information for you in your process. So I hope you enjoy it. It was a lot of fun. As always, if you have any questions, please ask and I'll do my best to answer. If you don't have questions but you'd like to encourage me, please just give me a thumbs up. Look at that dirty thumb. So give me a thumbs up because it does encourage me to keep publishing these videos. So again, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have a great week. And thanks as always for being part of it. Well, next up is the wheels. And one of the things I've done, the book has really good directions, a little instructions about the process to take. But one thing that they pointed out, and I'll emphasize this, is gripping the wheel blank in a 4-jaw chuck and then indicating it so that the inner edge of the rim there runs true, because it does look a lot better. They look a little goofy if you don't take the time to indicate and you see a wobbly looking wheel going down the tracks. So I'm going to set that up, just like this, and indicate each of them, face off the front. Second step is to turn it around, face off the wheel, the back wheel to thickness, and the hub an extra 1/16 of an inch, and then make an arbor, and then you chuck it up in the arbor and turn the outer diameter and the flange and all that stuff. So I wanted to show, I'm using my 5C collet chuck, and I've got a 3/4 inch 5C collet and a piece of 3/4 inch material that I cut off last night from a piece these were some golf cart axles, I think, that Russ's machine shop was working on. So I'm going to use this as a stub. I'll turn this part down and then thread it a portion to 5/8 This is a 5/8 inch rod to give you some idea what that's going to look like. And I've got 5/16 by 18 threads per inch. That'll be because the 5/16 is the diameter of the inside diameter of the wheel, and that'll allow me to bolt that on. So let me take you over to the lathe and show you the setup over there. Okay, here's the lathe with a nice big indicator. You'll notice that this one it indicates to thousandths, and I marked my 4-jaw chuck, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and I went around and I centered basically between 2 and 4 and 1 and 3. So here we are with 4 on top, 1 on the bottom. It's right at 72 thou. Now it's a bumpy surface, so it's not gonna, the needle's not just gonna stay steady there. But let's see. So here we are at 1. It's at 72 thou. Come around to the 2, 72 thou. 3. About 73.5, and if I'd have stopped a little shorter, it might be at 72, because it's, like I said, it's an irregular surface. And over here to 4, and it's right at 72. So that's really, really close, within 1.5 thou inside. I'll point that out that I'm using this one on purpose. I do have a slick little Noga holder with an interrapid indicator that indicates down to 1/2 thou, but it's really delicate. And it was, honestly, I was having a hard time realizing where I was, with the wheel. So this is a little easier to use, and basically there's a lot of good videos about centering stuff on a forejaw, but basically you loosen one side, tighten the other till you keep splitting the difference till you finally get it to very little variation. Another thing I'll point out is you'll see I've got it. This is the little forejaw chuck that goes in a 5C collet chuck, and the reason is I put my forejaw that comes with this lathe is huge, and there's no way it wouldn't even hold this thing, so certainly not in a way that I could use it. I looked at putting I have a Shoreline chuck that's really only slightly bigger than this, but I did think about that, gripping a Shoreline chuck, centering it, and then using the Shoreline chuck for this. Basically give me the same utility here, and this should hold just fine. I just have to be extra careful to make sure I've got it very tight, and take small cuts so that I don't hurt anything. Obviously with cast iron, I'll be using a t-shirt across the lathe ways to protect them as well, keep them from getting coated with the cast iron particles. Alright, thought I'd try to capture the facing process. Let me pull the DRO. I don't know, you're not going to be able to see that, but so running the cutter up over, just touching it against the outside of the wheel, hitting the 0 on the DRO, and then backing off. I'm going to do this one the same way I did the other one, with 15th thou at a time. I just figure with that small chuck, taking light cuts could not be a bad idea. It worked out fine on the other one, and I got time. I enjoy my time in the workshop. So got my little protective stuff in place. Check the speed setting. I'm at the 220 RPM setting here. I'm going to go ahead and engage the lathe and the auto feed, and we'll take the first facing cut. Cleaning up nicely. So 15th thou is deep enough to get under the skin, the cast iron skin. I could disengage the auto feed at this point and manually crank it ahead, but I don't mind. Kind of like looking and thinking about things. Fun working on these smaller wheels. When I built the Allen Mogul, the drivers on that thing were like this big. You can't even see. So I had to use the big chucks. That's why I bought this big lathe. You really don't need a lathe this size for stuff this small. Let it go all the way past the center so it knocks off the little nub that will show there. perfectly flat because we'll be drilling that in a minute. Alright, can disengage the power feed, manually bring it back. Probably doesn't make any difference, but I always like to dust off the cutter, unlock the carriage, move it over the 31.5 thou. There we go. Lock it down, crank it in. Manually feeding again. Looking good. Alright, I'll cut the camera off now because you get the idea. After centering the wheel in the four-jaw chuck, the next thing to do is to take off the face cut of a 32nd of an inch or 32 thou. You can see I've got it on my DRO on the Z-axis there. I've got the carriage is locked down and using the auto feed. So glad I got that fixed to take off. I don't know if it'll be the way I'll do all of them, but just to be on the safe side because it's such a small chuck. I took 15 thou off the first cut and then the remaining 31.5 thou basically for the second cut. Next thing to do after this will be drilling and reaming the center hole, so I'll bring you back for that. Well, it cleaned up pretty nice. Let me move the camera over here. You can see perhaps a better view of the wheel. And it did look a little odd in the machining and the action sequence, but remember it's centered around this rim down here. So I think that cleaned up pretty nice. I do have a carbide bit in, and of course I've got the lathe protected. I've got old t-shirt material protecting the ways of the lathe, plus a plastic bag with a magnet in it to catch the filings. You can see it's a great tip. Keep the lathe clean. Alright, so now we'll set up the drill. Got the drill and ream. I'll show you here's my game plan. I've got a center drill, and then a smaller size drill, and then the undersized for 5/16, and then the 5/16 reamer. I'll bring you back for that first. You can see the center drilling. You can see what I mean about that inner rim. All the outer part of the wheel looks all goofy, but the inner rim looks pretty consistent. So looks like I did a pretty decent job centering it on that. So there's our center hole. We'll get ready to do our pilot drill in a second. I'll bring you back for that. Cut the laser. Here's the pilot drill. Just go nice and easy. Done with all 8 wheels. Just feeding it by hand in case you're wondering. Very gently. The lathe speed is on like 220 RPM. Nice and easy as we go. Castings are very nice material. Real smooth. It must have a good amount of graphite in it. Alright, we're all the way through. Pull it all the way out. Clean that off. Okay, here's the size under, I think it's 19/64. It's one as Keith Appleton would say, one imperial size underneath the 5/16. Again, feeding by hand. It's a lot easier with since there's already a pilot drill. But Keith Appleton always does the one size under under the reaming size. So that's what I was going to do for the first one. We'll see how it goes. Here's the 5/16 inch reamer. As you can see, I did turn the lathe speed down. This is the slowest this lathe will go. It's 70 RPM. I'm feeding it very gently by hand. It's going really smoothly though. I don't see any issues. All the way through here. I haven't been counting. There we go. I can feel the tension release. So I'll run the reamer all the way through. That's another thing I learned. People are tempted to only run the reamer in a little halfway, and you don't get the full benefit of the reamer, number one, and then part of the reamer gets worn out faster than the rest. So anyway, I don't know if that's the best technique or not, but clean it off, and now I've got some 5/16 inch rod. I'll stick it through just to double check the fitting, make sure the hole size is good, and then we'll be done with this blank. We can start with another one. Here's what I meant when I said this is a 5/16 rod. Actually, this is the one I used for bending in the bending jig. And it fits perfectly. It's not loose, but you know, it's a good sliding fit there. Because I'm planning to Loctite the wheels onto the axles, so that's exactly the kind of fit I'm looking for. So there we go. Now we can unchuck this one and chuck up another, and I'll show you the process. Since I kind of skipped over that before, I'll show you the process of centering the wheel blank in the forejaw. I'm going to try a little different camera angle here. So let me show you that. So here's an unmachined blank wheel. One of the things I always do is check around to make sure there's no obvious high spots. And in this particular one, if you can make that out, it looks like there was a little sprue or something that came out of that. So the diameter right here, you can just feel it with your hands. It's probably 20 thou or so higher right there in that one spot than the rest of this rim. So when I chuck this in the forejaw, I'm going to make sure to put that sprue space, let's just call it, in between two of the jaws. The other thing I'm going to do is try to, when I removed the old one, I loosened only two of the jaws, which may or may not be, it may or may not work, but it's generally a good trick when you have consistent shapes. So I'm going to gently tighten these things up. So 1 and 4 I loosened, 2 and 3 were not loosened at all. So I'm just going to put these in basically finger tight, 1 and 4. So it's in there, and then I'm looking to make sure it's flush, that the back side of the wheel is flush against the back of the chuck. Let me bring you over here. Yeah, make sure there's no gaps that you can see light through, because again, with such a small gripping area there. So we'll check that out. A lot of times you smack this with a hammer, but I really don't want to do that with these. Not that you'll hurt them, but I could upset it. I think it's way better just to have that finger tight. It's not going anywhere. And now I'll set up the indicator like I showed a minute ago, and I'll indicate this one in perfectly. I'm going to try to find a good camera angle for that. It's kind of weird because really the best camera angle would be if I had the camera hung around my neck or something. So we can't do that. I'm going to cut the recording off and try to get the indicator set up, and perhaps the camera in a place that where you can view what I'm doing. Okay, that's probably the best angle I can get without any tripod. So right now the small indicator is on in between 100 and 200, and I'm at 50, so that's very useful to me. So now I'm gonna center between 1 and 3. So with 1 up, I'm at 50. Let's shift the lathe into a neutral thing so I can spin it easy by hand. Ooh, it's not quite neutral, is it? Alright, coming around to 3. Good news is it's pretty close already. I mean, less than 50 thou out, about 40 thou out. So what we need to do is to loosen this side and crank the wheel up a little bit that way. So let's loosen this side. You don't want to make it too loose because it'll make it difficult to, the wheel could fly out. So it's a little bit of a laborious process. So here we are, a little over 50. What we're shooting for is probably we're going to end up around 25 or 30 here. So 1 is at 45, 3. You notice now it came down, so it was 10, now it's almost 20. That's a good thing. So we'll crank it down some more, or loosen this up some more, excuse me. Another quarter turn or so. Move it around to 1. We're at 40. 25. We'll loosen this one some more. Quarter turn. Go back to 1. When you're close like this, it's really pretty easy. Okay, so 1 is at 30. 3. Come on, thing. About 33. Sweet. So let me loosen that just a teeny bit more. Now we're going the wrong way, actually. Okay, loosen 1. Probably shooting for about 32 thou. Alright, I'm going to stop there. That's 32. Let's come around to 1 and see if we tighten to 32. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so 1 and 3 are tight. I sure hope this shows up because that was a good example of my process anyway. So I've got 1 and 3 equal at 32 thou reading on the indicator, and they're both just snug, not real tight. So now let's go to 2. Alright, same kind of deal. 2 is at 45, so we need this one. Well, let's see what the others are. 2 and 4. 4 is 20, so we need this to come up. So let me loosen 4. About a quarter turn. Tighten 2. There we go. Up to 35. 4 is about 35 as well. Let me try loosening that up. Let me try, see what happens when we tighten that. 35. 2 is 35. Tighten that up even better. So 35. 35. Alright, so they're even anyway, and we got 1 and 3 were even before. Now we'll kind of go around bit by bit just to see, because we had 1 and 3 even at 32, and 2 and 4 are even at 35, so let's see. So we go to 1, that's about 32 also, 31 now. 2 is about 35. 3, a little over 32. Interesting. So this, you can get into a thing that's called chasing the dial with stuff like this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go around, I'm going to cut the camera off so I quit worrying about narrating. But I'm going to go around one more time do any final tweaks, and I'll bring you back and I'll show you when I've got it just, I think, as good as I can get. And within a couple thou on a casting like this is really pretty darn good. So let me cut the camera off here. Yeah, so I've double checked it, and that's as good as it's going to get. Let me just run you through. Actually, let me move the camera over here so you can see even better what I'm talking about. Okay, so there's the indicator, and so we're at the number 1 position. It's 32. Now you're going to see it vary a little bit as I spin it around. Number 2 position, about 35, so 3 thou off. Number 3 position, 34, so a couple thou. Number 4 position, 35. So plus or minus like 3 thou for a rough casting is really very good. So I'm done. I'm not going to worry with this. I've gone ahead and tightened them all up so they're ready to go. So we'll do to the next step, use the carbide bit and take off a 32nd of an inch along the face, and then we'll drill and ream the hole just like we did the other one. Whoops, sorry. Just of the camera. Okay, there's the completed first step on all 8 of the wheels. I've set up my forejaw to be able to grip the smaller portion now. So tomorrow I'll come in and finish up the overall thickness, and then we have to make the arbor over here, and we can finish the final steps. So took a long time, a lot more time than I thought, but I'm really pleased with how they came out. They look really good. Really stoked about getting this together so we can get the trucks put together.